tonight. As schools in Regina and Saskatoon fill with students, school divisions in both cities turn to the province for more money.
The funding formula is pretty complex.
Also, the federal government moves forward on its gun buyback program, pledging to compensate businesses that surrender banned guns. Plus,
we are like the heartbeat of the musical culture of the city.
With the Regina Symphony Orchestra struggling to fill seats at concerts, orchestra musicians hope the community will step up its support.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, April 26th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. With just over 2 months left in the school year, a trio of school divisions in Saskatchewan are looking for the province to readjust their funding. And a fourth division is raising concerns in its own way about the lack of government money it's getting. Jesse Anton has more.
Schools bursting at the seams. The main divisions in Regina and Saskatoon say they're dealing with hundreds more students than they expected in September. So many they could fill 1 or 2 extra schools per division. They say it's largely due to the late enrollments triggered by immigration.
That's such a good news story. Without the funding to support those newcomers as well as those that are currently in our classrooms, can kind of put a bad slant on that good news story in terms of how we're able to function within our classrooms.
They're also dealing with inflation and say they're short millions of dollars. That's why Regina Catholic, Regina Public, and Saskatoon's Greater Catholic School Divisions teamed up and sent a joint letter to the Ministry of Education asking for a mid-year funding adjustment.
Without a funding adjustment, we don't have the capacity to increase our staff in those schools, and it also puts significant pressure on our transportation.
The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation says it means fewer services to help with mental health and language barriers.
So we continue to put teachers and education staff in these impossible situations, and kids are the ones that suffer for it because they're not getting their needs met.
Education Minister Dustin Duncan says he's heard the division's concerns.
The funding formula is pretty complex, and so it's not necessarily a per capita. There's lots that go into it. Number of students is a big part of it, but there's lots of factors that go into that.
The 3 school divisions say they have a meeting set with Duncan next month. Meanwhile, Saskatoon's public school division has not made a formal request. Instead, it put out its own letter this week to parents and caregivers.
We have really felt that our growth and our inflationary costs have been ignored in the funding from the province.
Saskatoon Public warned there will be difficult budget decisions in the coming weeks and encouraged families to contact their MLA. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
A Prince Albert man who had been on life support after an altercation with police has died. On April 1st, at least 6 members of the Prince Albert Police Service surrounded Bowden Umferville during an arrest. They used tasers, batons, and pepper spray on him. Umferville had been in hospital ever since and was taken off life support this morning. The Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team is investigating the incident. Officers involved had been on administrative leave but are now back on duty. The Prince Albert Police Service has already been under the microscope. A former Edmonton police chief conducted a review of the service and submitted a final report to the Minister of Policing. Minister Christine Tell says the report will be discussed with the appropriate groups before a decision is made to release it publicly.
Those discussions have to be had with our partners, the PA Police Commission, and those discussions are ongoing. I do believe that there is a public interest to having this report released.
That the public confidence in policing in this province is upheld. It's very important for both those in the community and police generally. So the more transparent, the better. We're hoping that this report comes out in its full form and that it comes out immediately.
Minister Tell says the decision to release the report will be made in the next couple of weeks. The federal government has launched a program to buy back banned firearms. That includes signing a deal with the Canadian Sporting Arms and Ammunition Association. There will be compensation for businesses that surrender banned firearms. The government says there are about 11,000 of them, including parts and components, in stores nationwide. Aaron Collins has more.
Ottawa has pulled the trigger on its plan to buy back some soon-to-be-banned firearms. Today, a move to compensate gun stores who will be forced to liquidate part of their inventory. A group representing those gun stores agreeing to help with the buyback.
These are the first assault-style firearms bought back under the program and show that we are moving forward with this landmark federal initiative.
The controversial legislation, originally designed to outlaw handguns, expanded to ban assault-style rifles after the mass shooting in Nova Scotia in 2020. An overreach for some.
I find it to be cruel irony that the Liberal government, who has starved these mom-and-pop gun shops of resources with 3 successive gun bans, now is throwing them a bone of taxpayer dollars.
The industry group that has agreed to help with the buyback from shops also expressing skepticism.
As much as we may not like it, and I assure you we don't like it, the law of the land is that currently these firearms are listed as prohibited, and we're unable to sell them, we're unable to move them.
For gun store owners, few details on how or when this program will roll out. This shop owner says he has about $500,000 in guns that will be restricted.
There really is no choice. I mean, we have to hold our nose, package these things up. At the end of the day, we don't really have a choice, no matter what they're going to give us.
Of course, today's deal is happening before Bill C-21 is even law. This is just the first step in rolling out Ottawa's proposed gun ban, and buying back guns from dealers is likely the easy part. The harder question, how to get Canadian gun owners to buy in to a buyback. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
With the strike by 155,000 federal civil servants now in its 8th day, disruptions to important services is causing concern in government circles. Immigration Minister Sean Fraser says citizenship ceremonies have been cancelled and an immigration backlog is growing. The head of the Public Service Alliance of Canada says negotiations with the government have reached an impasse. And speaking today, he had a message for Justin Trudeau.
I'm calling on the Prime Minister again today to get involved in these negotiations and to settle this dispute.
Thousands of union members have been on picket lines in more than 250 locations nationwide. Most of them have gathered outside federal buildings. Hundreds of picketers were on the streets of Ottawa yesterday, chanting and blasting music. They held up traffic for a short time early in the day. Wages and remote work are 2 issues central to the dispute. Well, temperatures are slowly rising and the spring melt is revealing more than just garbage. Community organizations are cleaning up used needles to keep citizens safe.
So we'll just clean up some of the equipment that we found.
If you find a used needle on public property in Regina, you can call the Saskatchewan Health Authority's Street Project van to come pick it up. It also distributes clean needles to drug users. Only a fraction of the needles it hands out end up littering the streets, but that can still add up to thousands of needles, and the SHA says they can be dangerous.
Especially after the snow melt, usually we'll find lots more around. Last year, ourselves, we picked up about 1,000 in our targeted cleanup, but that's again after the snow melt. Throughout the year, depending on the year, we might have from all the different programs between 12,000 to 24,000. Our total numbers of distribution are over around 2 million or around. So considering that total number going in and out, we do pretty good trying to keep the community clean.
You can also call AIDS Programs South Saskatchewan or the Regina Fire Department for needle pickup on public property. If you find a needle on private property, you are responsible for disposing of it and are advised to take precautions. The Regina Symphony Orchestra has been struggling to get its concert attendance back to pre-pandemic levels. Musicians say they're hopeful the community support will return, but they say if the orchestra does fold, the city would lose musicians who are instrumental to the city's music culture. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
This is the sound of decades of experience. Jeff Loizen has played with the Regina Symphony Orchestra for nearly 30 years. He's also a music teacher at Scott Collegiate.
I had the chance to sit with the architects and design this space. And so they built us 2 recording studios and mixing rooms, so the kids really get to learn in composition. They also get to learn audio engineering and sound mixing.
Loizen is just one example of how orchestra members across Canada are not just classical musicians, but also actively work to foster musical literacy within their communities. Marie-Noëlle Berthelet is principal flautist for the RSO. She devotes much of her time to teaching the musicians of tomorrow and the music teachers of today at the University of Regina's Conservatory of Performing Arts.
I think what's important to understand is that the RSO is not only an entity that puts concerts together in the city. We are a pool of about 60 musicians that feeds the whole musical community in Regina.
And those musicians want to play professionally, but the RSO has had to cancel 3 of its April shows in order to mitigate some of the financial risk it's facing. While some orchestras across Canada have bounced back from the pandemic, many are struggling to regain their audiences.
If you can juice the numbers and cause more of those folks who came once to come back a second time, the likelihood that they'll come back a third and a fourth time is infinitely higher. But if that cycle has been broken, if there's a break in the pattern, we've essentially lost 3 years of audience development through this period of time. And I think everybody's pedaling as fast as they can to catch up.
And if they can't, Berthelet says the city would lose a lot of passion for music and knowledge. The RSO also supports music programming and provides instruments and books.
We are like the heartbeat of the musical culture of the city. And not only for classical, like some of my students now are professionals and they're doing albums and playing heavy metal music. Some of my students, vast majority actually, teach band in the high school system, teach band in the primary school system.
Loizen says the younger generations would be affected by the loss of a local orchestra.
All of that other community investment, the lessons we teach, the next generation of musicians that are being produced to fill our shoes when we go. That's what's really in jeopardy here.
The RSO musicians hope for a good turnout at their 4 shows scheduled for May. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
Here's Roulette, 2-on-1 with Cedar Roulette, toe drag shot, missed the net, rebound off the backboard, they score!
The Saskatoon Blades completed a legendary comeback last night. The team was down 3-0 in the best-of-7 series against the Red Deer Rebels, but they rallied to win 4 straight games, winning the second-round WHL playoff series. The Blades are only the 3rd team in WHL history to rebound from a 3-0 deficit. The team will now face the Winnipeg Ice in the Eastern Conference Final. The first game of the series is Friday in Winnipeg. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. April is Autism Acceptance Month. It's all about inclusion, acceptance, and showing support. Valeria Corey-Minocchio has the story of a student from Quebec who wrote and illustrated a book based on her own experience.
Brother Robin by Annabelle Adewunmi, which is me.
Annabelle Adewunmi is on what you could call a book tour.
And Robin loves peanut butter.
Today she's at St. Willibrord Elementary School in Chateauguay to read and present her book, Our Brother Robin.
This book is about a robot named Robin who has autism, and it talks about his struggles and what he loves to do and what are his special talents.
Annabelle is on the autism spectrum and wanted to promote acceptance.
Autism is not something that you should be scared of. It's just a way of thinking. And it makes your brain work a little differently, but it doesn't mean you're not human.
In her book, she explains what autism is and behaviors that can be associated with it.
But Annabelle has included such frank and clear explanations of things that people sometimes find off-putting. right? So when there's a part in the book where she's talking about what stimming is and what that looks like and what it feels like and the reason that people do that, and in giving that explanation, it demystifies it and it helps us move towards acceptance of autism as opposed to awareness of autism.
Shmuel says that goes a long way.
To have that information from the perspective of someone who is living that life in the terms that they understand, in the terms that other people can understand, I feel like it opens doors that were previously closed.
Annabelle's book is available on Amazon. Over 70 copies have been sold so far, and she's already working on her next one.
What do you think this is?
His brother.
Right, his brother.
Valeria Corey Minocchio, CBC News, Chateauguay.
This weather update is brought to you by Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
A live look at Saskatoon this Wednesday evening, where the cloud cover is starting to build in, but the temperature is still pretty nice at 11 degrees right now in the Bridge City, and it's pretty nice all across the province right now as we take a look at current conditions, including in Regina. We're sitting at 10 degrees right now, still quite warm in southwestern Saskatchewan at 16 at Maple Creek. A little cooler in the north of the province today. Your highs only getting in between about 5 and 10 degrees, but really you can see that warmth building into the southwest corner of the province again, even as you work your way kind of north and east areas around Hudson Bay, Wynyard, even Yorkton. We're still kind of holding back in the single digits just a little bit here, but winds are actually not all that bad. We've seen a pretty breezy day once again, third day in a row here, really, where gusts have been getting up to around 50, 60 kilometers an hour, but those have quickly died right off. But they are expected to pick up a little bit again here, and in southwestern Saskatchewan, they'll really get going. We're watching a low-pressure system starting to develop, some showers moving through the southwest right now. The purple that you see on your screen there is a wind warning for Alberta, not extending into Saskatchewan at this time, but there are gusts on the western side of the border there up to 90 kilometers an hour overnight tonight. And in southwestern Saskatchewan, they could get pretty breezy as well. Here's a look at how this system develops. We'll see that low basically in our province tonight through the overnight hours. Rain heaviest probably from Regina westward, south of the Trans-Canada corridor. A little bit of snow and mixed precipitation for the north tonight. Rain still happening a little bit in southwestern sections as we head through the day tomorrow. But for the rest of south and central, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud, mostly cloudy day. And Friday, it finally looks like things start to clear out a little bit of a system moving through the north, and could be some lingering cloud cover in south and central sections. Overnight tonight, again, the heaviest of the rain going to be around Swift Current and Maple Creek. Could be upwards of 5 millimeters, maybe 10 in some localized spots. But really, other than that, we're not expecting all that much rain. Now, in terms of our wind gusts, we'll start to see those pick up a little bit as the main part of that system moves through tomorrow, and especially the backside of it is where we're going to see those gusts get close to 50 again in the south. Elsewhere, remaining pretty calm, and then a smaller system moving through on Friday, going to be picking up winds again. Regina, your next few days here are looking like we will avoid moisture, and temperatures will be warming up as well. Overnight lows kind of getting above the freezing mark a few days here. Still quite breezy, even possibly cracking 20 degrees as we head into the beginning of next week. Of course, the first time this year that would be happening. And Saskatoon, I think there is a possibility that we could get there as well as we head into next week. Your next few days, breezy still, but again, similar thing. We're looking for some more sunshine, and it looks like temperatures will improve, and those overnight lows looking quite nice as well. A high-flying rehearsal today for the crowning of King Charles. Military aircraft took to the skies over the Royal Air Force Base in Cranwell, England. 30 planes and helicopters will do a flyover at Buckingham Palace in London on the day of the coronation. King Charles became monarch when Queen Elizabeth died in September, but his actual crowning takes place on Saturday, May 6th. We're back after the break. Police are looking into reports that a Toronto area man has sold a legal but potentially lethal substance used by some to take their own lives, including several young people in the UK. Thomas Daigle has more.
Could parcels sent from this post office in a suburban Ontario strip mall be connected to suicides an ocean away? It's all part of a police investigation following multiple deaths, including that of 22-year-old Tom Parfitt from Maidenhead, England.
I'm 99% certain that if my son was unable to source this drug, he'd still be here.
David Parfitt says his son bought a substance online that Tom used to kill himself. And he says British police told him it came from a website based outside Toronto. CBC News has viewed the site that's now been taken down by its service providers. It sold sodium nitrite, a chemical used for curing meats that experts warn can be fatal when misused.
It does cause death and seems to do so fairly quickly in those people that consume a sufficient quantity of it.
An investigation by the Times of London newspaper named Ontario man Kenneth Law as a chef selling poison to suicidal youngsters. The newspaper says Law boasted about sending the product to hundreds of people in the UK. We tried calling him to no avail.
Hi, you reached the confidential mailbox of Kenneth Law.
After the suicide of 23-year-old Neha Raju in England last year, a coroner's inquest found the substance used is freely available to be purchased from the internet, with no protection for vulnerable people. The report pointed to a post office box in Mississauga, Ontario, used by Kenneth Law, apparently to ship his products abroad.
I don't know how to fix this. What I do know is it needs to be fixed.
Peel Regional Police have not laid charges in this case and have only told us there is an ongoing investigation. Kenneth Law did not respond to our requests for comment. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Looking at some cloud cover in the morning in Regina, may see some peaks of sun here and there. A chance of a shower or two sitting at 6 degrees. But by the afternoon, we'll get a little more clearing, a mix of sun and cloud at 11 degrees. But north winds still a bit gusty, between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour. In Saskatoon, we're starting the day a little more on a clear note, mix of sun and cloud. Winds will start fairly light around 5 degrees, and then as we head toward the afternoon, the sun and cloud sticking around and winds picking up a little bit, gusting close to 40 kilometers an hour. Sunrise this morning captured from two different vantage points, one by Martin in Vanguard and Russell in Regina, even catching some jet contrails there as well. Thanks so much to you both for sending those in. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to our website or the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. I'm back in a couple hours at 11 with more local news and weather. We are online tonight, or tomorrow rather, at 6 p.m. In the meantime, thanks for watching and have a good night.